Have you ever felt invisible? Like your contributions go completely unnoticed, even though you're the one making everything work? That was my reality for years, until one boardroom moment changed everything. Stay with me as I share how I went from being the silent worker in the shadows to finally getting the recognition I deserved, and how you can too. I remember the first time I walked into that glass-walled conference room at Meridian Tech. Fresh out of college with my computer science degree, I was thrilled to land a job at one of Boston's fastest-growing startups. The company had just secured its Series B funding, and the energy was electric. I was hired as a junior developer, part of a team working on Meridian's flagship product, a revolutionary, AI-powered analytics platform that promised to transform how businesses handle customer data. My manager, Kevin, was a charismatic guy with an MBA from Wharton and zero technical background. He had that slick, sales-wide personality that executives loved. During my first week, he pulled me aside. "Listen, Sarah," he said, "you've got serious coding skills, but in these meetings, just follow my lead. The executives don't care about technical details, they want business outcomes." I nodded, taking his advice to heart. I was 23, inexperienced in corporate politics, and honestly a bit intimidated by the Harvard and MIT graduates who populated our executive team. So I did what seemed sensible. I put my head down and focused on the work itself. The Meridian Analytics Platform, MAP, for short, was my baby from almost day one. While officially I was just one of 5 developers, I quickly became the one solving the toughest problems. When our system crashed during beta testing, I was the one who stayed until 3 a.m. to fix the data processing algorithm. When we needed to improve response times, I redesigned the architecture to be 40% more efficient. I wasn't doing it for recognition. I genuinely loved the technical challenges. And solving complex problems gave me a satisfaction I couldn't describe to my non-tech friends. Our weekly team meetings fell into a predictable pattern. Kevin would present our progress to the senior leadership team, talking enthusiastically about our solutions and our innovations. I'd sit quietly, occasionally answering a technical question when directly asked, but otherwise remaining silent. After all, I was just following Kevin's advice. 6 months in, the company hired Daniel as our new senior VP of product. Unlike most of the executives, Daniel had actually been a developer earlier in his career before moving into management. During his first team meeting, I noticed him watching me curiously when Kevin described the elegant solution we had developed for our data processing bottleneck, a solution I had actually coded over an entire weekend while everyone else was at a company retreat. I couldn't attend due to a family commitment. After the meeting, Daniel caught me by the coffee machine. "You wrote that parallel processing system Kevin was talking about, didn't you?" he asked directly. I almost spilled my coffee. "How did you know?" he smiled. "Because Kevin was describing an innovative technical solution while looking at his notes every 3 seconds. You, meanwhile, weren't even taking notes. You were mentally correcting him when he got details wrong. I can see it in your face." I blushed, not realizing I'd been so transparent. "It's fine," I said. "I'm just happy the system works. I don't need credit." Daniel gave me a look I'll never forget, a mixture of respect and concern. "That attitude will make you an incredible engineer and a terrible career strategist," he said, "but it's your choice." He walked away, leaving me thinking about his words. But I didn't change my approach. The truth was, speaking up in those meetings terrified me. Every time I considered explaining my contributions, I imagined everyone staring at me, judging me, thinking I was being arrogant or attention-seeking. It was easier to stay quiet and let Kevin be the face of our team's work. As months passed, the Meridian Analytics platform evolved into something truly impressive. Our beta customers were reporting dramatic improvements in their business intelligence capabilities. The investors were excited. And internally, Kevin was becoming something of a star, regularly being praised for his team's innovative solutions. I remained in the background, content with knowing the truth about who actually built the core systems. My salary was good, the work was interesting, and I told myself that was enough. Besides, I had started mentoring to new junior developers who clearly appreciated my technical knowledge. That felt like recognition enough. Then came the board meeting that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in November, about 18 months after I'd joined the company. Meridian was preparing for its Series C funding round, and the board wanted a deep dive into the technology behind our platform. Normally, developers like me would never be invited to board meetings, but Daniel insisted that the technical team should be present to answer questions. So there I was, sitting at the far end of the massive conference table, surrounded by venture capitalists and industry veterans. Our CEO, Amanda, was walking through the company's growth metrics, which were impressive by any standard. Customer acquisition was up 215% year-over-year, and retention was an unheard of 97%. "These numbers are fantastic," said Jonathan Mercer, the lead partner from our biggest investor, Redwood Ventures. "But before we discuss the next funding round, I want to understand exactly what makes your technology different. We're seeing a lot of AI analytics platforms in our portfolio companies. What's your moat?" Amanda smiled confidently. "Kevin, why don't you walk the board through our technical differentiators?" Kevin stood up and began his presentation. The same presentation I'd helped him prepare, explaining the 3 key innovations that made our platform unique: our real-time processing engine, our predictive analytics model, and our natural language interface. He was doing well until Jonathan interrupted with a specific question about how we'd solved the latency issues that typically plague real-time analytics systems. Kevin stumbled. "Well, we implemented a proprietary algorithm that essentially creates efficiencies in how the data flows through the system." Jonathan frowned. "That's not very specific. Can you explain the actual technical approach?" I could see Kevin starting to sweat. He glanced at me desperately. "Perhaps one of your engineers could elaborate," Jonathan suggested, looking around the room. There was an awkward silence. I felt everyone's eyes turn to me and the other 2 developers in the room. My heart was pounding. This was exactly the kind of spotlight I'd been avoiding for 18 months. But something had changed. Maybe it was Daniel's words echoing in my head. Maybe it was the realization that the future of the company and my work hung in the balance. Or maybe I was just tired of hiding. I cleared my throat. "If I may," I said, my voice shakier than I would have liked. "The key innovation in our real-time processing isn't just one algorithm. It's actually a 3-layer approach." The room went quiet. I stood up and walked to the whiteboard, surprising even myself with my sudden boldness. "The first layer is a distributed pre-processing system that categorizes incoming data packets based on priority and complexity," I explained, drawing a quick diagram. "The second layer is a custom-built catching mechanism that stores frequently accessed calculation results." I continued sketching out the architecture. "And the third layer is what we call our adaptive resource allocation system, which dynamically assigns computing resources based on current load and predicted future demands." I turned to face the board members, who were watching me with unexpected interest. "This 3-layer approach is why we can process data in milliseconds, while our competitors are still measuring response times in seconds." Jonathan leaned forward. "And who designed this system?" I hesitated for just a moment. "I did," I said simply. "With input from our team, of course." Jonathan looked at Kevin, then back at me. "And the predictive analytics model, the natural language interface, were those your designs as well?" I nodded. "The core architecture, yes, though many people have contributed to refining and implementing them." The room was silent for a moment. Then Jonathan sat back in his chair. "Well," he said, looking at Amanda, "it seems you have some remarkable talent on your team that I wasn't aware of." He turned to me. "What's your name and role here?" "Sarah Chen. I'm a software developer too, on the map team." His eyebrows shot up. "Software developer too? Not lead architect or something similar?" Amanda jumped in quickly. "Sarah has been a valuable contributor to the team, working under Kevin's leadership. We're certainly looking at role adjustments as we scale. I could see Kevin's face had turned an interesting shade of red. But surprisingly, I didn't feel any satisfaction from his discomfort. This wasn't about exposing him, it was about finally acknowledging the truth about the work I'd poured my heart into. The rest of the meeting continued with the board members directing their technical questions to me. I answered each one honestly and thoroughly, occasionally deferring to my colleagues when appropriate. When we finally wrapped up, Jonathan approached me directly. "Ms. Chen, that was illuminating. I'd like to continue this conversation. Would you be open to having lunch next week?" I glanced at Amanda, who nodded with a tight smile. "Of course," I replied. As everyone filed out of the boardroom, Daniel caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. Kevin avoided looking at me altogether, gathering his papers quickly and exiting without a word. Amanda asked me to stay behind. As the door closed behind the last board member, she sat down heavily in one of the leather chairs. "Well," she said, "that was unexpected." I braced myself for a reprimand. "I'm sorry if I spoke out of turn. I just wanted to accurately answer the board's questions." She shook her head. "Don't apologize for knowing your stuff, Sarah. But I'm concerned that we've apparently been underutilizing one of our most valuable assets." She studied me for a moment. "Why haven't you spoken up before?" The question caught me off guard. I was advised early on that executives don't care about technical details, that I should focus on the work and let others handle the presentations. "Let me guess, Kevin told you that?" I nodded uncomfortably. Amanda sighed. "That may have been his experience elsewhere, but it's not how I want Meridian to operate. Technical excellence is the foundation of everything we do." She paused. "I'll be blunt, Sarah. We're about to raise another $50 million, largely based on the strength of technology that you apparently designed. We need to rethink your position here." The next week was surreal. I had lunch with Jonathan, where he asked detailed questions about my background and my vision for the platform's future. I had multiple meetings with Amanda and our HR director about a new role and compensation package. And I had an uncomfortable but necessary conversation with Kevin, who alternated between apologizing for taking credit and suggesting that I should have spoken up sooner. By Friday, it was official. I was appointed as Meridian's first Chief Technology Officer, with a substantial equity package and a seat at the executive table. Kevin remained as Director of Product Management, focusing on what he actually did best: understanding customer needs and translating them into product requirements. My first executive meeting was terrifying and exhilarating. As I presented my vision for the platform's technical roadmap, I kept expecting someone to interrupt, to question my authority or expertise, but instead, I received thoughtful questions and genuine engagement with my ideas. That was 3 years ago. Since then, Meridian has completed its Series D funding at a valuation of $1.2 billion. We've grown from 50 employees to over 300, and our platform is now used by 7 Fortune 100 companies. I lead a team of 85 engineers, and we've filed 12 patents based on the technologies we've developed. But the most profound change hasn't been in my title or compensation, it's been in myself. I no longer sit silently while others discuss my work. I've learned to speak with confidence about my contributions without feeling like I'm bragging. I've become an advocate not just for myself, but for the talented engineers on my team, ensuring their innovations are properly attributed and rewarded. Looking back, I realize I had fallen into a common trap. I believed that good work speaks for itself, that if I just built amazing things, recognition would naturally follow. But that's rarely how the world works, especially in corporate environments. Your work can only speak for itself if you give it a voice. If I could go back and give my younger self advice, it would be this: yes, do exceptional work, that's the foundation of everything. But don't expect others to automatically recognize or acknowledge your contributions. Learn to advocate for yourself in a way that feels authentic to you. It's not about bragging or taking credit away from others. It's about ensuring clarity and truth about who did what. I also wish I'd understood earlier that my silence wasn't just hurting my career, it was potentially hurting the company. By allowing my innovations to be misreputed, I was enabling a distorted understanding of where the company's technical value was actually coming from. That could have led to poor strategic decisions about resource allocation, hiring, and product direction. The irony is that once I started speaking up, I discovered that most people appreciated the clarity. The board was relieved to know who was actually behind the technology they were investing in. My fellow engineers were inspired to see that technical contributions could be recognized at the highest levels. Even Kevin, after some initial discomfort, seemed relieved to no longer be pretending expertise he didn't possess. So what changed that day in the boardroom? Why did I finally speak up after 18 months of silence? I think it was the realization that staying silent wasn't just an act of personal modesty. It was letting down all the people who believed in what we were building. Our investors deserved to know who created the technology they were funding. Our customers deserved to know whose vision was shaping the products they relied on. And the team members who looked up to me deserved to see that technical excellence could and should be recognized. Since that day, I've made it a personal mission to create an environment where technical contributions are properly acknowledged. We've implemented a clear attribution system for major innovations. We ensure that engineers have opportunities to present their work directly to leadership, and we've restructured our promotion criteria to reward not just management skills, but technical excellence. The results speak for themselves. Our engineering retention rate is 94%. Far above industry average. We attract top talent who specifically cite our recognition culture as a reason for joining. And the pace of innovation has accelerated as engineers feel ownership and pride in their contributions. I still think about that moment in the boardroom, the terror I felt standing up, the relief that followed when people actually listened, and the profound shift it created in my professional life. It wasn't just about getting a better title or more money. It was about honoring the truth of what I had built and taking responsibility for its future. If you're sitting silently in meetings while others discuss your work, I hope you won't wait for a dramatic boardroom confrontation to find your voice. Start small if you need to. Correct a minor misattribution. Share insights about your current project. Ask questions that highlight your knowledge. Build your confidence gradually. And remember that speaking up about your contributions isn't arrogant. It's honest. Your work deserves a voice, and that voice needs to be yours. If you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, or if you're struggling to get recognition for your contributions, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, please subscribe to my channel for more honest conversations about navigating the complex world of work, leadership, and personal growth. Thanks for listening.